messages out there. Our partners at Spectrum Reach have a great deal that they're offering for free right now. So Ryan, I'm going to kick it over to you. And if you could just take a few minutes to explain that, and then we're going to dive right into those questions.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I dialed in, so I wasn't sure. So perfect. So my name is Ryan Perino. I work with Spectrum Reach. We have attended a few AMA events here in the Milwaukee area. And what I wanted to do is just kind of reach out to you guys and let you know that Spectrum Reach has partnered with Waymark. And what Waymark is, it's an opportunity to create stunning commercials in minutes. And here's an opportunity for anybody to create a 30-second video for free that you are allowed to post on either your website or your social media pages. And it's a great opportunity to post anything right now when you, regarding everything that's going on with the COVID-19. Hey, our business is still open. We're offering carry-out options. Here's our new and improved schedule. Maybe Fridays are Fish Fry Fridays. There are certain specials throughout the week that you want to offer. This is a great opportunity to post on any of your social media pages, on your website. It is a free opportunity to create this commercial. If you go to waymark.com, or I did send Michelle some information on there that she could be happy to share with you guys. You enter in, as you check out, you enter in the code REACH, R-E-A-C-H, and then the video is free that you can download and post anywhere you want. We have worked closely with AMA. We also work closely with the Brookfield Chamber of Commerce, and then also the Racine Chamber of Commerce. So if you go to their websites or their LinkedIn pages, we have created some videos for them on there as well that they have posted. It's a great opportunity just to get your message out. There are some templates that are available on Waymark to use, from automotive to restaurant to retail, home service, real estate, professional, beauty, and a ton more. So I encourage you guys to go to waymark.com and check it out. Again, you can create the video. You're going to have to create an account if you do not have an account on there. Check out the information, create the video. As you check out, enter the word REACH, R-E-A-C-H. You get a free video to post anywhere you want. And Spectrum Reach has extended this offer through the end of May to create videos, because we don't know how long this is going to last right now. So it's a great opportunity through the end of May to create a video right now. And you can really, you can create some great videos, honestly.
So Ryan, we'll be sure to send that information in our follow-up with the survey link and the link to this, as well as one of Ryan's colleagues, Tom Binder from Spectrum Reach, actually told me yesterday that he is also willing to help. He creates a lot of these Waymark videos. So if anybody needs a little assistance or, you know, a shove in the right direction, we'll share Tom's email with you, and you can feel free to reach out to him as well. But
yeah, and you can share my email. I'm more than willing to create some of those as well. We do have some templates. I can send some samples to you guys to kind of see how they look. And it's just a great starting place. It's a great opportunity to get your word out, your message out right now in these times.
Awesome. Well, I think that takes care of all of our opening remarks. So let's just take the next 50 minutes to dive in. Again, we really want this to be a conversation. So using that raise your hand feature from the meeting participants, the little blue box up in your corner, we'll try to unmute you and have you share ideas, ask some questions as we go along. But we're going to start off by Linda. You're going to be our first subject matter expert, and we're looking for you to provide some insight here. Matthew's question was, how are companies engaging in relevant ways with current and potential customers during this time?
So I think that's a great question, especially like the engaging in relevant ways, because we're constantly engaging with our clients and our prospects. But I think for a lot of us, what we had planned for Q1 just got completely put to the side. I don't know about everybody, but did anybody have a crisis persona set up for like if everything changes, if you can't be face to face, if you can't get on an airplane, or whatever, depending on what your business is, the way you communicate has to shift. And that's basically what I think is most important here, is that everybody has to get really comfortable really quickly with technology. So Zoom has become like everything from anybody in a company to your grandma knows how to use Zoom now. And that just wasn't always the case. So taking those digital options that were before used in some cases, and now going forward, they'll be expected. So with our clients and some of them that I work with, taking those siloed people and making opportunities to communicate on a real human to human level has been a core piece of what we're doing. And really week to week, as we find out more about the crisis and when it may end, or in the beginning, like when it's like nobody knew anything about how long this would take or what we were in for, just making sure we got those conversations going. So Zoom chats, things like we're doing here, we set those up for our clients where they had their prospects, their clients, across the US, Canada, even other countries join in and talk about what they're seeing from their perspective. And just building those deeper relationships has been really valuable to our clients. Also social, we've seen a huge change in social, where social's always been great. People know Facebook, LinkedIn, they've used these channels, but we're seeing a huge uptick in social engagement and company follows, and really making sure we're pushing out messages that are client specific about what's going on. Now they don't have to have an answer, and they don't have to have a product for the crisis, but we're all in this together. So having those types of messages and that tone and how can we help you type of perspective has been really valuable. I know Steve, Jeff, still from the stream team, you guys have anything to add on that?
The only thing I'll add is just what we've talked about internally is like, it's an opportunity to really build an even stronger relationship with our clients. And the sheer fact that now we're seeing them sitting, in one case, one of our clients is, he sits at his kitchen table, he's got his son next to him who's trying to do homework, and his wife helping with the kid. And it's like, you're seeing like this inside their homes now. And so I think it builds a whole nother level of trust with our clients, because what used to be the professional face-to-face meetings and everybody's in collared shirts and in some cases suits and ties. Now it's like you're seeing the quote unquote real version of everybody, where we're just, we were literally in a conference call and we see one of our clients, his cat starts scratching his leg in the middle of the call, and he just like, and he's like laughing, and he's like, hey, this is real world. And so I think it brings a sense of authenticity and builds greater trust with our clients. And I think that's a good thing that I hope continues.
Yeah, I think the other thing I would just add is that we're trying to help our clients and share ideas of what we're learning from other things like this, like events, or if we see another client that might be in different industry but is doing something that's actually working really well for them, just to get in front. Like, we're just going above and beyond to share ideas. It's because, again, we're all in this together. We're all thinking differently of how to utilize the technology and get our voice out there in a way that makes sure we're saying it in a nice way and empathetic way, but at the same time making an impact.
Well, and you're absolutely right. We are getting way more personal with everybody. Just so you know, I am wearing pants. I hope you guys are too. And if you hear the dog barking in the background, that's mine. That's my black lab Tubbs. So he might be a surprise guest. But all right. So thanks for providing some insights on that, guys. Brian Lamons, the man. This one's coming over at you. Kathy, she wants to know, is submitting press releases appropriate during this time? Oh, hold on, Brian, you're muted. Wait.
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So with that question in mind, I actually called a bunch of friends of mine throughout the country from different media outlets, whether it's radio, broadcast. And the quick answer is, if they're receiving any press release that has nothing to do with adding value to this conversation, because they feel their viewers, listeners, and readers are looking for signs of hope, normalcy, etc., they're actually laughing at your press releases. So if it has nothing to do with this, I would hold off. And in fact, one reporter in New York actually said it turns them off. And so it may be hurtful that you are not being relevant or being a little bit of tone deaf. That doesn't mean, what's the good news is from a reporter perspective, they're also respecting the fact that, normalcy. So there is value in your services if it's providing value. and a sense of an economic normalcy. So they're respecting that, but it's only if it's kind of connected to the storyline that is absolutely dominating them. People need to know too, a lot of these media outlets have also furloughed. So if the good news there and the bad news is you're competing against a lot of people with similar stories. The good news is that the better your story is more fully prepared, the better chance it has placement. So that's my quick answer, if that helps. I don't want to be too long on it.
But Brian, I have a question for you on that. So when does that change? So I can see like a month ago that, you know, that was that way, but with the timeline between when they receive a press release and it actually gets posted or published, when do people make that change over to start to send those normalcy type messages again?
That's a hard thing I asked the same question. It's a hard thing to forecast with everything changing so dramatically. So my gut, I asked a producer in New York that question specifically, and he didn't have an answer. So my instinct says as soon as some of these, they're calling it now physical distancing. No one wants to call it social distancing with all of the depression. And so with the physical distancing relaxing, I think you'll start to see that dynamic shift. Until we know when that happens, I just don't think you can have an answer for that. At least that media channel, remember, getting your stories out isn't just pitching reporters is just a piece of the communication. There's other ways to tell your story. You actually have been opened way more up with podcasts and stuff like that. So there's other ways to get your story out if it's not tone deaf. But my gut says that, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've lived through a bunch of, this is the worst it's ever been for me in my career in terms of economic impact. But my gut says you'll probably get back at that around June 1, where you can kind of start acting normal with media relations.
But the feel-good stories are still relevant, right? Like we have a client who is a construction company, and they are offering some nonprofits free service. The nonprofit would buy the materials, and because they want to keep their team on, they're offering them the construction services at no cost. So that, I think, to me, that's like a great, like, timely type of press release that you would want to put out versus, I don't know, something that is just not relevant.
Yeah, exactly. So if you, like I said, if you have something relevant that provides value, it's timely. You should be going ahead and pitching with the advice I've given in terms of having it more prepared than usual. You are competing against a lot. What I was referring to in terms of when it gets back to the regular pitching, that doesn't have that kind of relevance where it's very product heavy or sales proposition based. I don't think you're going to have, I think you'll do harm to yourself. To be honest with you, I've actually seen some behavior online where people are actually destroying companies who are tone deaf. So you just got to be careful. If you have a relevant story like that, go after it by all means. And I own a PR firm, and we've been getting lots of placement for all of our clients around the angling of what you're talking about.
Ryan, I'm gonna, I see Pat's raised his hand. Pat, did you have a question or a comment?
No, not a question really, but just really kind of tagging on to that, just it's supporting what Steve, Jeff, and Brian have just been talking about. And that's some research has recently been conducted by HubSpot. And what they concluded is at this point in time, for a period of time, and we don't know when, is promotion is not just going to cut it. It's more of the education and help. And that's just going to continue on for, again, we don't know how long. But if you're trying to promote things and trying to get on a quick call, it's just not going to play well. You're not going to get any traction.
But for anybody who's doing PR, as awful as the times that we're living in, this is actually a very good time for those people who have been challenged by their environments and their bosses or their whatever to kind of push out soulless news releases and copy. As we all know, that you do better when your press releases are embedded in some type of human endeavor, no matter what the time. So to me, I see this as an opportunity to really kind of entrench yourselves with doing PR the right way, and not being, I don't mean this negatively, but being lazy in this terms of talking without the soul thinking around the storyline. So to me, all PR people should be, and branding people, what we do both at my place, but this is really the time to really entrench long term in terms of how you should be communicating, and start walking away from the things that, and I know there's many people out there watching, listening right now that have sent releases out, it just didn't matter, right? It was just true product focus. You're forced being to say that kind of, or write that kind of copy. This is the time to really kind of set the tone long term, and really establish a process and an approach that's meaningful. Even before this all happened, I told everybody, I got a lot of calls, and people said, Brian, what's the one word that you think is going to be the most popular word in the next couple of months? And I said relevance. And the only way you can be relevant, what I've always preached for my entire career is you always got to look at a brand and take it from being a business endeavor and make it a human one. Because it's not what you say that people remember, it's how you make people feel. And the more human you are, and the more value you bring through that lens, the more success you have, obviously. So
building off of that, Brian, I think one of the ways that we can really try to add that human element into our messaging is by taking advantage of that Waymark video opportunity that Ryan was just talking to us about at the beginning, and using that on your social platforms, on your website, in other ways to just try to make that relevant connection. Martha, I see that you submitted a question off to our chat here from Big Shoes. I'm going to come back to it in just a second here, Martha. I want to keep moving through a few more questions that we already have on our list. And again, you guys, we totally get it. We had 51 people sign up today. Tons of wonderful questions. We're trying to lump them and clump them in categories that sort of make sense, but we realize that this is not going to be the last of these discussions. We're going to have many more. So with that being said, I do want to kick it over to Dana. Dana works for GMR, right? Event marketing, Olympics, NASCAR, all this stuff. A lot of people are wondering, how the heck do we, move forward with trade shows and events shutting down?
Thanks, Michelle. So yeah, I know someone specifically asked about trade shows, and I know Brian and I both talked about this in depth yesterday, but we're either seeing events being postponed or canceled. If they're being postponed, the event holders are hoping, by September, October, this isn't going to be an issue anymore. But I think going through 2020, they're still going to see significant fall off. You don't know how people are going to react after we're able to leave our houses, where people are going to want to travel, if they're going to want to be in front of people. So we have been seeing a lot more things turn into a virtual nature. There was a show that we were specifically supposed to go to with our client. It was a healthcare show. They canceled it. They made it virtual, but they changed the setup. So they changed it to rather being a week-long trade show. They were doing virtual webinars throughout a month. So you could sign up for it. You would be able to interact. They specifically changed the focus to be very related to COVID and what was going on now. I would recommend, if you are kind of going the route to make it virtual, if you want to talk about what's going on in the world today, great. But I would also keep some of the elements that you were initially going to talk about as part of that event. That's why people signed up. That's why they wanted to go. So I think it's really important to kind of keep the path there. It is good to be optimistic. We all hope, we're back to normal here as soon as possible, but you also want to be prepared. So, if you're planning a trade show, know what you need to do to make the event virtual, or how you want to make that turn if you need to. I actually sat on a 2-day webinar a few weeks back, and they did a virtual, outside of the speakers being virtual and set up similar to this, they also did a virtual expo floor. So companies were able to have a virtual booth. They had someone monitoring that booth all day, so people could go into the expo, they could go to the booth, they could virtually ask questions to the people from the company there. So really, if that is the route you're going, finding ways to let people be able to interact, but then also, what can you do for your sponsors? Are there ways for your sponsors to be involved? So one of the things that we've seen from a NASCAR perspective, for instance, they're doing a lot with iRacing. They wanted to get their brand out there. They wanted to keep fans excited with no sports going on right now. But they're also finding ways to get the sponsors involved with signage, commercial breaks, things like that. So the funds that they originally put towards the sport that they're not getting really all that much out of with nothing running right now, they're seeing from a virtual perspective as well. Brian, is there anything you wanted to add? I think you're on mute.
I think Linda.
Oh, you're good.
I'm sorry about that. I think you covered it well. Like we have just to give people a little bit of a timeline. Like we have a client in Germany who has their big event, their dealer show in Germany. And Germany's come back. They're opening the market again, the economy. And they had their show was I think it was August, or no, it was July, and they canceled it. And so if you're thinking that you're safe because your timeline is so far ahead, you're not, because there's a lot of things that go in logistically, including airlines, travel, all these different issues you may have that kind of feed into it. But so you're right, Dana. From a perspective from you, as people look at these tech platforms, I know my wife is the head of events and meetings at Harley Davidson, and they're doing a similar behavior around their virtual stuff. You know, we're learning as well as that. What I'm hearing is that it takes quite a time to get these tech platforms built. So if you're thinking that you may be in the clear, I think you're already behind, because I think this technology takes a good amount of investment of time to prepare. Is that what you're experiencing, Dana?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why I said too, it's good to be prepared, understand what it does take to make the event virtual, have the conversations. And I don't think it hurts to, build out a plan to say, if we need to change the direction that we're currently going, this is what it's going to take to do it, and build out a timeline so you actually understand like what you need to do and when you need to make your decisions by.
Pat, I want to kick this one over to you from a higher ed standpoint.
Well, there's a lot to go in on the higher ed thing, but just looking at education in general, it's really echoing what Brian and Dana were talking about. No one really knows. I don't see it coming back anytime soon. I see Zoom just kind of dominating a lot of it. What I think is going to happen as well, though, is there's going to be a bit of fatigue around this whole platform. And depending on what category you're specifically talking about, I think some of these like older school, like phone calls, are going to play even a larger role, and things that don't scale as well but make more of a connection are going to find their way back to a degree.
So playing off of this a little bit more with one of the questions saying, what have companies been doing to replace these educational conferences, trade shows, format structures, webinars, things like that? Seth, do you have anything that you want to chime in on with regards to, what you're seeing or hearing?
Yeah, I think some of it too is like, I guess from my perspective, it's more, we working for a software company, we did a lot of online trainings, but I think we've increased those quite a bit, just because we have seen, and I think maybe this goes into a couple other directions of dependent upon whether, I guess, you're B2B or B2C, but people have, I think, more time to engage with content right now. We're seeing a higher demand for trainings. We regularly have scheduled trainings for our products. And we have decent attendance, but because people are now at home and maybe more focused in front of a computer, they're wanting to learn more about like what our software does, even though they've been, a purchaser of it for a while. So they have more time to engage with that content. So I think I think that's an important part of it. So I know we talked a little bit earlier about like messaging. I think that's an important thing to remember, is like, just because maybe your product or service doesn't have a direct benefit during this time, that you can still engage with your current customers to increase utilization of your product, because there might be an opportunity where they have more time now to do that than when they're in their daily life in the office, if that makes sense. So.
Well, and that's a great segue into, what I'm going to ask you, Linda, is, what are we doing now? What are we going to be doing going forward? What tactics can be put in place? Stream team, please share insights on that.
So what we're doing now, I think really affects, I think things aren't going to really, they're going to stay this way to a certain point going forward. I think we may see, Pat, maybe if you agree, like as far as education, more people online doing online education. Less people are they're gonna find out now that you don't really have to get on an airplane to go see a demo or get training. To Seth's point, that you can actually, these manufacturers and these different companies can set up online training and, you know, different camera angles to show demos of their equipment. So people don't have to spend the, you know, day or two to go and do a tour of a facility or go somewhere. So I think some of those things are gonna stay. As far as other things, you know, like I think things that as an agency that I think we're going to see some of those things that we've been suggesting or recommending over the last year, that people are going to jump on the things that they haven't already jumped on, because now they're seeing the real value. They're seeing where inbound marketing is important, SEO, making sure your site is optimized, making sure you have those connections, you know, how people do sales, like some of those technical and online methods of doing things, all of a sudden overnight became required, where before there were other ways, and there still are. We can do a direct mail, but you know, some of those things where people didn't sign off on yet, I think they're more likely to sign off on now, seeing the importance of that. Bosses, do you agree?
I agree and have nothing to add. I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I think clients are going to be shifting. I think everybody's trying to learn how to help service, especially like manufacturers. How can they get their service teams or their sales teams to stay involved in doing things like in a different way? So like we've seen a manufacturer actually change to do like an online service type of, you know, a Zoom call where people can actually do this just to kind of keep face to face. And it's a very low cost offer, or even free, or just convenient type thing to stay in touch. And they're building campaigns around kind of pivoting to just keep touch points with their clients that way. So I think that we've seen, and then we've also seen clients starting to think about like, okay, they're not spending as much on trade shows. Where do they pivot some of their dollars? Is it spending more on content creation, doing deep dive content, and then taking more of their subject matter experts and creating specialty videos, like how-to videos. I also think now's the time that people can look at collaborations and look at, okay, who are the software companies we're partnering with? Who are the other industry partners we're working with? And how can we collaborate more on different deep dive content to kind of get featured on their stuff on their website or their properties, and build more of that type of content that's helping, but a little bit more in a community aspect. So we've seen that as well.
And just to bounce off of that just a little bit, is like the communication methods where, you know, if you don't have chat set up yet, like get it set up, because having online chat is just, it's golden. It's, you know, people are, like I said before, they're siloed and they want to have those conversations. And if you can get those things set up so that people can, you know, text you, they can chat with you, they can have all of those different communication methods, whichever one is most convenient for them. Online calendar, set up a time with me on my calendar. All of those things that can really help get those conversations started quickly.
Thank you. Okay, so Martha, Big Shoes, I'm gonna unmute you and I'd love for you to ask your question. Martha, are you there? Oh, okay, then I'll just ask the question for you. From the chat. Small biz question. Do you, or how do you sensitively invoice for services already provided pre-COVID?
I think I'll answer that if you don't mind. So for us, we're just trying to have honest communication with our clients to be able to say, like, if you need special arrangements on payment terms, let's talk about this and just let's find something that works for everybody. So whether it's like, okay, let's take that payment and break it in thirds, you know, and I think there's really no right or wrong. I mean, it's they understand that, you know, there's compensation due for services already provided, but I think it's for us just having those conversations and knowing that goodwill will, you know, hopefully strengthen the relationship again too, where, hey, we're in this together. It doesn't do us any good to say, yeah, you know, we send you an invoice for a big video shoot that's significant dollar amount, and if you're in financial trouble, that, you know, that you're going to all of a sudden pay that bill, and it's going to make it, you're going to want to cancel a retainer in 6 months. So it's like looking at like, what's the win-win proposition for everybody and how can we kind of work through this together?
Great. Anybody else want to add in some insights on that? Okay, so then I'm going to ask this fun question that was submitted, but it's pretty much along the lines of how are employees managing working from home while also having potentially kids at the house, dogs, I just heard my garbage truck thumping by. So not only just from the AMA board perspective, but other people, raise your hands. What are you doing? How are you adapting to this?
So I'll start off. My coworkers are currently my wife and my dog, so I don't have a kid, so I can only speak from my experience with my boss, who is currently like splitting time homeschooling for half the day with her husband, and then is working like off hours, like 5 a.m. to 9 in the morning, and then we'll homeschool from like 9 to noon, and then kind of schedule meetings in the afternoon. But I think in that sense, there's a couple things we've done as a team, and I know we kind of talked about this. But like obviously having like just open communications, we have kind of a group chat for our whole team, and then I highly recommend like having video on for calls and stuff like that. But I think the other part of it is just understanding that like this is a unique situation. So we message when we're as a team, we message when we're going to step away to if kids needs help, or if it's just like, hey, I need to go for a 20-minute walk, so you can't see if someone's at their desk like you can in the office. So it's just like that opportunity for, if you're in a team setting, just kind of communication and knowing that people are going to be working off hours and kind of collaboration in that sense. So
I know from my perspective, right, being the owner of Green Onion Creative, I actually have 2 of my employees who are participating on, this event today. And, I always tell them that first and foremost, their mental and their physical health is the most important thing to me, because if they're not in a good headspace or physical space, they're not going to be able to work, produce the quality of work that I know that they're capable of. And I tell them, it's like, look, if you need to take a day or 2 off, or a couple hours off, you do it, right? And I think it's just being understanding and flexible. And this is a crazy time for like everybody. I know I'm a very social person. I miss people. I miss, and so it's like, all I can say is please be kind to yourself.
It'll be just interesting to see then what happens post crisis in terms of working from home, and how does that change, because there's going to be plenty of conversations with organizations across the country of like, hey, remember we had this discussion a year ago and I wanted to work at home and the company didn't allow that. Now I had to work at home and I pretty much kicked ass, and hey, can I go 3 days a week now?
Yeah.
That's going to be real interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good thing. At my company, I've already made the decision. We're going to go 3 days at the office, 2 days at home moving forward. It's just, for us, it's been a wonderful experience. We're doing better work. We're feeling it to us. It was a good awakening for me. I was always the guy who said, "No, I need you in the office," because I feed off of people and brainstorms are important in collaboration. You don't need to do that every day. So we're actually changing our model moving forward permanently on this.
And Kathy shared via chat, she's taking it 1 day at a time. Flexibility is key. I'm helping my 2 kids with virtual learning and fitting in work, as well as her husband who works too. I agree. I wonder how work will change, or even personal interactions. Will we shake hands or just bump elbows? I know, I'm a hugger. Now I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to be like all up on you. So yeah, I think we might just like, give little nods and things going forward.
So on that note too, so in Stream's last crisis, when our building burned down about 3 years ago, we went totally virtual for a while. And so we made this change early where we use Slack, we use different tools to communicate, and that's just been working really well. And I think that high level of trust that you guys are talking about, who are business owners, that you need to trust your employees that they're getting their stuff done, and things are going to keep rolling along. But from that perspective, I think that finding those tools that work well to continue to communicate during the day or whenever it is that that you need to get your questions answered. And same thing with clients, like making sure that they know you're available or they know how they can reach you as well. And yeah, there's some that will text me now that didn't before, and that's fine. I just think it's great to just make sure that everybody knows, because everybody's just kind of in the same situation.
And what we're seeing, right, like companies that would do happy hours, even just getting together for, you know, a drink or a taco with your friends, you know, this is totally different space now. So Dana, you were talking yesterday about like, there's these virtual happy hours that are going on, you know, an opportunity to just kick back, have a sip of your favorite beverage, you know, with
oh yeah, my team, like we do, like half of my team is in Philadelphia, half of my team is in Wisconsin. So we've always tried to figure out different ways to like interact as a full group, because we don't get that opportunity often. So we do a happy hour now every Thursday afternoon. We come up with a fun theme for it. So we're all dressed up, or we have a certain drink theme. We connect for the first 30 minutes or so, and then we find some sort of like game or something a little bit more like interactive that we can do as a group for the last half an hour. And I think it's made us, you know, just closer as a team. We understand each other a little bit more in a less professional setting.
So to totally build off of that, I have a game app that you can download on your phone. If you can see this, it's called Evil Apples versus Humanity. And it combines Cards Against Humanity with Apples to Apples. It is not for the faint at heart. You do have to, some things are a little inappropriate, so it's adults only. I would not recommend this for the kids. But my girlfriends and I played it, and we were hooting and hollering. I mean, it was so much fun. So, right, like, you know, anybody else chime in with some good apps, good ideas, good drinks, good recipes?
Another thing that we've continued, and when we were in the office, it sometimes included cocktails, because Brian, the third owner at Stream, like makes amazing cocktails. But we're continuing our lunch and learns, our internal lunch and learns virtually now. So tomorrow we're having our next one, and Stream's providing lunch. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but all of us at home will just log on, and we continue those types of learning things from our homes as well.
You know, one thing Linda said earlier, just about, you know, trusting your people, I think this is going to force businesses to really evaluate their philosophy and how they do business. Are you hiring employees to sit in a chair for 40 hours, or are you hiring them to get high quality work done? And so for us, it's always been, and as Linda alluded to, the fire certainly forces you to be remote or whatever too. But a long time ago, you know, Brian, Steve, and I built a company around empowering our clients and empowering our employees to do what they need to do. And we recognize that the 9-to-5 day isn't what it used to be. Everybody's life happens, people have responsibilities. And we always say, as long as you're not leaving your colleagues or your clients in a bad spot, you know, do the right thing, treat each other like adults, and, you know, trust that they're going to do the right thing. So I think a lot of businesses are going to probably reevaluate that to say, you know, do we really need somebody to be in the office 40 hours a week to get that quality? I mean, I personally don't work well in an office environment. I get too distracted. I like to chit chat with people. So when I work from home, it's a service to more of my colleagues than anything, because I'm the biggest distractor. So I recognize that for me, that the office environment isn't great for me. And so we extend that trust to our employees. And I think other companies will hopefully evaluate that as well.
I just got a question in from the marketing guy. Since we're on the topic of working from home, how does this affect B2B messaging? In other words, has the sales approach shifted?
I think, you know, we've had some of our B2B clients that they're just figuring out how to do virtual presentations, whether it's, you know, they're using more 3D walk around type CAD software to be able to show what they were going to try and show in person, or just face-to-face communication. And I think, you know, in asking them exactly, like, how do you think this has affected your sales process? Has it been harmful, or has it been good? And overall, they're saying they're getting great feedback. So I think in terms of like affecting messaging, and specifically around the sales process, I think a lot of them are just like we all are, where you're forced to kind of figure it out, and they're finding efficiencies. So, you know, you talk to a lot of salespeople, and they're like, well, I can actually do more appointments in a day because I'm not actually physically driving somewhere. So where normally I can only fit 3 appointments in a day, I can set up calls and be able to virtually connect with people, more often. He's like, and there's times where you have to be on site to get measurements of a particular job site or whatever it may be. But in general, our clients have not seen as big a disruption in the sales process as they thought they were going to see.
I have a couple of, I guess, examples within that. First, with my current employer. So again, we're a software company, but we work primarily with insurance agents who are still heavy in person-to-person meetings. Whether it's to go over quotes and proposals. And so our industry, obviously, there's a lot of just information that's rapidly changing with this, along with brokers being looked at as kind of a HR resource for a lot of their clients. If they're a benefits broker, they're looked at as a HR resource. So a lot of the leave policies. So part of that is because the insurance broker, the typical is older and more in person. Some of that has just been guiding them as part of their sales process. So it's like another layer deep, but there's so much value in that they're understanding how they can utilize this more as a true technology partner versus just a provider, if that makes sense. And we've heard that a lot from our sales team as far as creating the additional resources that aren't necessarily promoting our product, but more just educational and helping them continue their business is more beneficial than obviously, trying to upsell things right now. So
Don Becker, is that you?
Yeah.
That you raised your hand. Do you have a question or a comment?
Well, just a comment that when you look at trying to work with B2B companies, we're DBA Marketing Communications, so we're working just with manufacturing companies. And we're trying to find opportunity in the chaos for our clients without seeming like we're trying to take advantage of a bad situation. We have a metal forming client up in the Fox Valley, and they're 100% stateside supply chain. So what they're doing is we created an email campaign for them, made some changes to their website, and really trying to say, if you've got, they're trying to hit specifically on China, so not mentioning COVID-19, but saying if you got ships delayed 6-8 weeks, we get everything within the States, and we have a 7-day-a-week manufacturing process. So we're looking for a targeted effort for them to generate business, and that's just starting this week, so we'll see how that does. More generally, what we're trying to do, which a bunch of folks have already touched on, but trying to create a package for our clients that we can show them that we're thinking of them, not charging them for something or not charging them for everything. And we've created a remote selling package. So if these guys are not used to selling remotely, I mean, usually they're in plants talking to operations guys and plant managers. We're actually giving them tips on how to be in front of clients when they can't be there physically. We're giving them ideas. People have mentioned a lot of those today, but lunch and learns and more online training and that kind of stuff. And we're giving them a resource library. A lot of companies already have this, but if they don't, creating more very quickly, trying to repurpose video, trying to create more case studies, trying to gather all their technical data all in one place. Now, most companies have that, but for those that don't, or for those that do, creating it and drawing attention to those areas, getting their guys to rethink how are you staying in front of the customers when you can't. It's actually something we all do all the time anyway, right? I mean, sales guys can only be in one place at one time, but we're trying to generate more awareness of that among the sales teams and keeping them motivated. And then while we do that, continue to give them something new to go to customers with.
Don, you said a key word that my team and I have been focusing a lot of our content development for our manufacturing clients on. We're really focusing on supply chain. And, with some of our clients, they produce essential products, baby diapers, feminine pads, adult incontinence products. Babies are always going to poop. Women are still going to have their period. Adults still don't want to wet themselves, right? These are the industries that we're serving. And we are creating our content, layering in that message of, when you partner with us, please know that there is have that peace of mind that we will be able to fill our obligations to you in your supply chain. We have another company that we're doing a drip email campaign for that provides backup generated power, right? Because essential operations, mission critical businesses, hospitals, military bases, distribution centers, these places need to keep up and running. And so one of the questions was, how are we're talking about authenticity and being relevant, but also providing that peace of mind and that reassurance of help your client say, we can still be there for you along this way. Oh, go on.
I think too, it's an opportunity. In our case, we're trying to always show our clients that we're not a design shop. We think about their business. We try to give them ideas. It's an opportunity to help them see us in a different way too, so that they don't just think of us, well, I need a website, I need sell sheets, I need a trade show booth. That isn't really what we're about. I mean, we do those things, but that isn't what should drive us for our clients. I saw Patrick Cudahy was shutting down for 2 weeks to do cleaning. So we have a client that does industrial cleaning equipment, and they target food and beverage. So I'm sure they're all over it, but I sent them a note anyway this morning saying, hey, not just about Patrick Cudahy, but isn't this an opportunity to create a message for all those food and beverage clients that helps push your product a little more and your service a little more. So just in doing that, they may not do those things. We always say, you can give a client 100 ideas. If they only do 2 or 3, they're still going to see value in you and see that you're thinking of them and you're bringing them strategically, ideas beyond just the messaging and so forth.
Well, and I know that from our board meeting yesterday, we were talking about, don't forget the fundamentals of marketing. We are in such a reactionary time, but let's be proactive. I've been having this conversation again with the manufacturing clients as we're looking into the second half of the year, right? Let's take a step back. Let's create a strategic marketing plan, right? Knowing that trade shows are being canceled, things are shifting around. How do we rearrange these budget dollars? Create that strategic plan. Create your marketing communications plans. How are you going to sell those product lines or business lines of business, right? What is the messaging that we need to have today, now, moving forward in the second half of the year? And then plan it out, providing those tools, making the priorities, knowing things are going to have to shift. But it's all about just, sometimes we just can't always be so reactionary, and we need to remember those fundamental practices that are proven marketing success tools. Okay, guys, so we've got about 6 minutes left. So any other questions, ideas, thoughts before we send people back off to walk the dog and have lunch? Sorry, we didn't have pizza today, guys.
Yeah.
I think
or some other lunch, right?
There's just two things, and some of it is kind of like with the B2B things, and I would push whether you have clients you work with or you yourself are part of more of a corporate marketing team. And I think dependent upon obviously what channel you serve, but this is in my mind, and what I've seen in a lot of things is pushing B2B companies, and we've seen this as a trend. B2C kind of leads the way with direct communications in that way, and there's certain tactics that are used in B2C prior to B2B, but there's things that people have mentioned right now that are continuing to, I think, be sped up to how they would evolve in a B2B setting. So continuing, I think that will be a trend that speeds up even more so. And one example is that is a previous company I used to work for, Pella Windows and Doors, obviously does in-home consultations for window and door measurement. When I worked there like 3 years ago, we started to kick off the idea of a virtual consultation and built out the app framework and everything, and we didn't get great adoption in our test pilot. That's exactly what they're using now to continue business. So it's things that maybe were early ahead of the curve from a standpoint that are now people are being forced to kind of pivot and relook at in a time like this. So.
And I think those things will stick around. I just think some of those new technologies, people are getting comfortable with them now because they have to, they're forced to. So,
yeah.
Building those things into your plan. And like you said, Michelle, moving back into what is the next strategy, like we can go be in crisis mode with marketing for a while, but turning back into what is, making sure we keep that bigger picture in mind and taking a look at all of those pieces of a good marketing strategy.
Right. And again, with this offer that Spectrum Reach is making available through Waymark, using that video as part of your ongoing strategy, you know, in these weeks and months ahead. You know, it's great that this free video is going to be made available until the end of May. And again, we'll make sure to share that information with you guys, so you can take advantage of it. Ryan can be a resource to you. Tom Binder, one of his colleagues, can be a resource to you. I think that's really our goal moving forward, as we're looking to wrap up this first event today. We really wanted this to be a conversation. Love the questions, you know, love the engagements, the raising the hands. You know, we're getting used to this different technology. I do miss all of you guys, like, and seeing you in person, but I think this is going to be the first of many. Again, we had a lot of questions today. We're going to try to go through them, see if we can have more topic-specific events coming up. Want your feedback too, you know, good, bad, and ugly. You know, it's all going to help us just move forward. Any other final thoughts from the board?
The last thing I'll just say, and I chatted it at the very beginning of the meeting, but if there's obviously questions or things to continue, I would push people to go to our website and kind of connect on the forum there. And again, I think that in the same sense, if you're currently kind of experiencing, you know, or have experienced maybe a change in your job status, just connect there and try to help people who have obviously great skills, just unfortunate, you know, output of the current situation that obviously can still do great work. So I would push people there. I'll include that in the follow-up email with this event as well. So.
All right. Well then, I guess go forth and have a really great day. Stay healthy, stay at home, stay in touch, and hopefully we can get together again real soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Everybody, bye-bye.